So here we are in the last of our editing sessions. This should be us completely caught up with the photographs that I've taken over the past couple of weeks. This one is Cathedral Caverns up in North Alabama. Now Cathedral Caverns obviously is a cave, a very large cave. And because of that, you'll see that the ISO settings will be way high. They'll be 6400, 12800, somewhere in that sort of range. Now they did have strip lights along the walkway. I got a feeling they're older strip lights, and therefore the photographs might come out a little bit orangish, so we might need to correct for that. Didn't take that many pictures, it's about 180 or so pictures. So let's get started. As you can see, we've got everything loaded up into Lightroom. Let's get started editing. This first picture is very hazy. I think the camera lens was actually misting over when I took it. Really, it was just a throwaway shot. I wanted to get the Duncan Smith Daughters of the American Revolution. It looked like a nice little house off here to the right. And there was this nice view. Zoomed in a bit. Here's the Daughter of the Revolution school, and there's that old house I was talking about. But that's not the photographs that we really want to edit. That was just a thing for me. So here's one at the entrance to the cave. Was this before it started raining or after it started raining? When I first arrived at the cave, it was nice and sunny, and then it started to, as you can see in this picture, absolutely chuck it down. Yeah, there we go, chucking it down. So here we are, this is the tour group on the way into the entrance to the cave. And here we are inside the cave. Not very interesting, but I took this for this cloud. There was actually clouds in this entrance to the cave. That's a not too bad picture, but anyway. So we're in the cave looking back to the outside. It looks nice and sunny. It's not, it's absolutely chucking it down with rain. So let's see if we've got a good shot looking back the way. That one's a bit better. Do I like this one or this one? I like this one, so let's edit this one. This is still down at ISO 200, although we're in the cave, we're looking back at light. And I kind of wanted a sort of silhouette-y type feel to this. Now we could bring up the shadows and you can see the cave. I don't know if I really want to do that though. Maybe bring them up just a tad. Excuse me. A little bit of colour going in here. Just a smidge more, and don't want to dehaze it that much because it brings everything down. Now, what are the areas that are little bits of the rock? Now, as you can see from the histogram up here, we've actually got a lot of room that we could actually just brighten this up if we wanted to. But I like it with the kind of dark feeling to it. I like this. So this is what we're going to go with. This cave was, and in fact still is, used as a fallout shelter. Now here we're at ISO 3200, f2.8, so we're wide open on the lens, 24-70 lens, but we're still, I had it in aperture priority. So I control the f-stop, I control the ISO, the camera controls the shutter speed. And at 0.3 of a second, as you can see, just not fast enough. One-fifth of a second. Look at these, you've got motion blur on the people walking. Now, it did capture the rest of the cave quite nicely, and we're up at ISO 6400 at this point. Rocks. You don't actually get to the really interesting bits until you get much further into the cave. This is a picture of, this, that's what it was for. This here is actually a shark's tooth embedded in the rock. Down here, I think it's here, or it might be here by the looks of it. Yeah, here is actually a tunnel through to another part of the cave, but because it's been raining so much here over the past month or so, it's completely filled up and totally blocked. Not that they would let us go through that tunnel anyway, but that was the point of that picture. And here's another one, same thing. Now this is a perpetual waterfall. During all the time, and we're at 1/10 of a second. Do I like this one or do I like this one? I actually like this one better. During all the time that people have been in this cave, or it's been recorded, which dates back about 100 years, I think, this waterfall has never stopped flowing, and nobody knows where the water comes from. Now, as I said, I thought things were going to be a little bit on the orange side because of the bulbs that they were using. Now that means that we need to lower the temperature. That's a little bit overdone. Probably to about there. Dehaze it a smidge to bring out the water. Now that is going to give us shadows. So we can either increase the shadows or increase the exposure. Again, with this picture, I don't know if I want to do that. I quite like this. Yeah, I don't want to do that. And really don't want to bring up the shadows too much. The whole point of it wasn't the surrounding, it was the waterfall. So we'll take that one. And here we are starting to get into the actual stalagmites and stalactites. Not that interesting. But this one is. This is Gargantua, which is the largest formation, largest known formation in the world. And this white part here is calcite, I think they called it, which means that this is still growing, this is still active, I suppose would be the word. And you can see this in the blog. I posted a vlog on this tour maybe last week, and although, and in that you will actually see just how dark it is, but this is where a full frame camera comes in to its own. 6400, 1/15 of a second, wide open at f2.8. You've got certainly enough light to capture this. And there is Gargantua, or whatever it was called. I think it was Gargantua. This one I took for the reflection. This is a man-made reflecting pool. I think I got another one. Yeah, with the light. Prefer it without the light. So what we want to try and do here is bring up this reflection. And with the reflection coming up, I think we'll have a really nice picture. Again, the lights are orange, so let's tint it down just a tad. Dehaze a smidge on this. And there we go. You've got the actual Gargantua up here. Let's reduce whites. Whites just a smidge as well. And an excellent mirror image in the reflecting pool. That's what we want. That's a nice picture. This one we looked at, add the light. Just another close-up of it. And even closer yet. This is 50 mil. And you can see all the formations in the rock. This is a photograph directly into the reflecting pool. There's the base there. And to be honest, if you're looking at this, if you didn't know that was in the pool, apart from it being a little bit grainy, so zoomed out a bit and there's the reflection in the pool. I don't know if I want this picture or not. What's the next one? It's focusing in on the calcite. Let's go back to this one. Now we've already got one in the pool. So here's a couple of, are they conjoined? That one's not, that one might be. Not that interesting though. I can't remember what that is. Okay, this railing going along here used to be the pathway that people took to get into the cave. But obviously, as you can see, there's a pool here, and right over here you're going to get very wet, and in fact you're going to actually go underwater. So they stopped using that and they built the walkway that I was standing on. And that was it, the J. Curley Bridge. January 1923. Well, that's when he was born. I can't remember when he purchased it. It was 1940s, 1950s, I think it was. He purchased it for a... Now the tour guide told me, and I can't remember. It was like $1,000. It wasn't a lot of money. In fact, I don't even think it was as much as $1,000. And then he had monthly payments, but they didn't actually say what the monthly payments was. It's just a photograph of the banister going down, but it's blurry. We're at 1/4 of a second. Here's a better picture at 1/4. You can see the walkway going down, but it just doesn't really make a very good picture. Nope. 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 This one might have, but yeah, it's not in focus. This one doesn't, but there's a closer in, and this one does. So let's take this one. 1/15 of a second. I think throughout this trip here I had the camera on aperture priority, because I knew what ISO I wanted the camera set at. I knew I wanted the shutter wide open, so I didn't want the camera to control all that. And because I was on a tour, I really didn't have time to set up shots, so I didn't have time to play with the shutter speed, take a look, see if I got a good picture, take another one, adjusting the shutter speed. So put it on aperture priority and let the camera control the shutter speed, but I controlled the f-stop and the ISO. We do want the contrast up. dehaze that. We can bring in the clarity quite a bit. It's an okay picture with all stalactites. It's not. Now this one's more interesting. So let's do this one. As you can see, it's a little bit on the orange side. Let's turn the temperature down. Bring in the shadows. Down with the highlights because it's blowing out the back here. There must have been a light at the back. Bring in the clarity and the contrast. Just a smidge with the colours. Don't want to overdo it. And there we go. Nice picture. And already we're just about halfway through. Now this formation was interesting because A, it's still going, it's still active, and B, you can see here cracks in it. There's a little crack down here as well. But this crack was actually caused by an earthquake in Alabama. It was the big earthquake of 1918, I think she said. I didn't know Alabama had earthquakes, at least big ones. So this shot's interesting because of that. So we're going to develop this one. Actually not too bad the way it is. Take the temperature down just a tad. The highlights, don't need to bring up the shadows too much, but we can bring in the clarity. There. This is the pathway that we walked along. This is just an excavated part of the cave. But there's the cracks I was talking about. Different angle on it, there's a crack. I don't think that one counts as a crack, but I do like these strip lights. I like that picture if there's something we can do with this. Let's actually bring down the shadows, not bring them up, and bring down the blacks. Bring up the contrast. It is orange, so we need to turn it a little bit on the blue side and bring in the clarity. Now, do I like that better than the original where you can actually see things? Let's reset everything. Okay, so that's a little bit much on the blue. There we go. I like the glow of that. I just don't know if I like that as a picture. Okay, let's leave it and move on. Not sure what that is because it's completely blurry, and so is that. Here's the walkway again. It got really steep in parts actually. There's everybody moving down the walkway. Now again, here's another one that if we can, how much can we process this? Now, I'm deliberately pulling everything down and not up. Usually in low light situations like this, you want to push everything up. I'm deliberately doing it the other way just to get a different look on it. We can increase the clarity a bit. Push out the contrast. And it highlights this path going through. Even although you can't see a lot of it, it's in complete shadow because I've pushed everything down. What happens if we leave that up? I like that. I do like that picture. Okay. We'll take that one. On to the next section. And here we have the Indian head, I think they called it. If you look, it does kind of look like either a gargoyle or an Indian. There's his nose, mouth, eye. If you go further down and look back on it, it doesn't quite have the same effect. Push shadows a bit and bring down the highlights, bring down the whites. There we go. Export, export. So I'm sure I got quite a few pictures of that. And this was the overlooker, or I can't remember what this one was called. Old man with a cane or a stick or something. There's his beard, an ear, eyes. So here's another angle on the old man. We've got that one. We've got a vertical one showing a bit more. And this is just the base of it. So which one do I like better? This one or the vertical? Actually, I prefer the vertical one, I think. So let's do this one. Contrast out, clarity. as you can see, it's definitely orange, so bring down a touch. Still a smidge on the orange side, as you can see. Now let's leave the tint the way it was. Now I'm thinking that he's a little bit... There we go. Perfecto. Some more stalagmites. Another formation. If I can remember correctly, stalagmites grow up the way stalactites grow down the way. I might have that back to front though. Here's another one of the waterfall, just a different angle. This is not a bad shot. What's next? Which one do I like better? This one or this one? Probably the first one. So let's grab this one. We will want to push the shadows on this though, and probably boost exposure just a smidge as well. That bit more, right about there. Okay, export, and we're over, well over halfway done. Same thing. Another outcrop. Meh. Would have been nice except for the people in the picture. Did I hang around and get another one? I can't remember what that was. I think it was this column here. That's where the focus is, so that's probably what I was taking a picture of. That's an okay-ish picture. Boost the shadows and actually increase exposure a smidge. Don't want to over increase it because as you can see down here we're getting grainy. This is fine, but where the shadows are we're getting grain and it's starting to turn purple. That is... probably need to cut down on the shadows just a smidge. That's an artifact of the sensor in the 1DX. Yeah, it's okay. This is the walkway going in between the columns of lime. I think these are all limestone. Getting a close up in there, and there's the shot. Boost, reduce, make clear, increase the contrast, and these really were actually orange, so I don't want to adjust the color temperature too much. Even although they're lit by orange lights, this whole thing was orange. And there we go. Nice shot, people's heads. Ruined it. And lots of people's heads. Go away, people. That's a nice shot. Whenever I go on these tours, these cave tours, or for that matter, fairly much any tour, I tend to hang back and be the last person. Bush shadows, reduced highlights. It really is orange, but we do need to take the tint down a bit. And the reason for that is you can hang back a bit and get a clear shot of something once the group's moved on, and still be able to catch up with the group. So you get clear shots of, not always, but sometimes you get clear shots of what you're taking, what you really want to take a picture of without having people in the picture. Now if you're up near the front or in the middle of the pack, you're always going to get people in your pictures. It's just a vertical of the same thing. Yeah, this column here. Close up there. Another good shot. Again with the orange. Whoa, way too much blue. There we go. There we go. Bring in the clarity, bring up shadows just a smidge. And whoa, we are at 1/50th of a second at ISO 6400. It's only when you get to the higher ISOs that you, and depending on your lens as well, that you start seeing the colour fringing coming in. And here's just one of that column. That is actually quite nicely lit just the way it is. I shouldn't need to do too much to this. Whack up the clarity, bring in the contrast. There we go. Really didn't need to do, maybe smidge down on the highlights. Really didn't need to do too much with that one. That column was well lit. And this is actually us. Yeah, I can remember taking this picture and that light. It goes on, it goes off, and that light completely ruined it. So just stayed there for a couple of more seconds, got the picture of the light off, got a much better picture. But at this point, we are actually on our way back out of the cave. These really are that orange, by the way. So for the most part, fairly much this editing session is done. Nice orange column. This is different angles of things that we've already seen. Bring the temperature down a smidge. Bring the highlights down, up with the clarity. We do need some shadow. No, we don't need some shadows. We're bringing in purple. Color fringing. On this rock here. Can we bring up exposure? There we go. Come on, Lightroom, catch up. I was actually reading about an article today in which Adobe has come out and said that they agree with all the user base that Lightroom is quite slow. And I still think it's the best tool to edit your pictures in. I love the controls, plus it's got excellent integration in with Photoshop, etc. But even Adobe agrees Lightroom is slow, and their number one priority for the next release is to try and speed things up. This is fairly much us, yeah, this is on the way back out. Just grabbing some shots from different angles, or some shots that I didn't get beforehand. So we're going to stop the video here. I'll go through the rest of the pictures. There's really not that much more to see. As always, I'll post pictures on the site. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. And we'll see you next time. Even although I don't have any more pictures right now to edit, I can guarantee I will soon. See you soon.